We're coming to you from Washington, D.C. as we dig into some of the tough policy issues facing the cattle industry. Let's toss it back to Kate Maher on Capitol Hill for more. Kate?
Thanks, Kevin. We're here now with Congressman Roger Marshall from Kansas. And Congressman, first of all, thank you for your time and visiting with us today.
Glad to be here. Glad to talk.
Excellent. Now, in addition to your duties here on Capitol Hill, you're an OBGYN, and I understand you've even fed cattle before. Can you give us a little background in the industry growing up?
So I grew up working on our family farms. My first real job was at a cell barn. So just grew up around the industry. You can't live in Great Bend, Kansas without getting more involved with agriculture. So some of my friends invited me to get in with them on feeding some cattle. So I learned some really valuable lessons. I learned that you can lose money in the cattle industry.
Yeah, I think a lot of our feeders would probably concur with you on that. Speaking of Great Bend, I understand that you took your staff out there for a staff retreat at a dairy and feedlot operation. Why was that something that was important to you to get your staff out of D.C. and into a setting like that?
Yeah, most of my staff has a Kansas connection, but 60% of the economy in my district is related to agriculture. So I think as you're developing policy, it's good to know who the people are, what's behind the scenes. Immigration comes to mind. We have 70,000 jobs in Kansas that are dependent upon an agriculture guest worker visa. So putting names with faces with some of these people is so very important. And I think just if you get to know your clients, your customers, which to me are the constituents of Kansas, then you work harder and you work smarter.
Absolutely. As a big feeding state, getting cattle to Kansas, you get cattle from all over the country. Getting them there safely is important. You signed on to a letter of support to talk about in support of NCBA's efforts for the electronic logging device and hours of service. Where do we stand on that, and why is that important to Kansas producers?
Well, as you know, we have cattle that come from all over the country. I have a congressman from Florida, from California, from Wyoming and Montana, and their cattle come to Kansas to graze and to be fed as well. So it's very important. We know that it was unrealistic that we could ship animals and take a 27-hour frame where people are hopping on, hopping off of these the big semis that bring them, those same cattle trucks that I used to load. So we know it's a big stress on the animals as you load them and unload them. So we need to be able to help our current feeders out as well and get those cattle here more efficiently, more safely.
And I know we have an exemption on that. What are your hopes for this issue in the lame duck session?
Well, we're going to keep pushing forward somehow on the farm bill to make that more of a permanent situation. And if we don't get it done now, we'll keep working on it next year.
You talk about your constituents. Why is it important for people back in Kansas or even across the country to get involved with a group like NCBA to make sure their voices are heard here on Capitol Hill where maybe agriculture isn't always top of mind?
I think you said it best, that the NCBA is the voice of the cattle industry in so many ways up here. I grew up working on a small little ranch, small little farms, and you just couldn't possibly have a loud voice if we're all speaking in different directions. So NCBA gives us one voice, has relationships with congressmen since myself. Even before I was elected, we're having great relationships, going back even to the Kansas Livestock Association, a relationship with them as well. So to me, I can't have thousands of voices talking to me. I need one central message, and I need solutions. So when we had the electronic logging device, the Kansas Livestock Association and the NCBA both helped us develop the policy that would work and will work in the future.
Well, we certainly, as NCBA, appreciate your support of the beef industry on that issue and so many others. And Dr. Marshall, we really appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Kevin, we'll send it back to you.